welcome, welcome. Guys, we want to bring some very important information to you all that a lot of people don't want to talk about, and a lot of our history we don't know. Angie, thank you for inviting me out. Chief, thank you for contacting me and inviting me out as well. Angie, can you tell me why is it so important that we know our history? Because you really grounded on it.
Well, first of all, I just want to welcome everybody in this space. We in the historical Newsom house. I'm 51 now, but as a child, this house just laid and laid and laid. We used to call it a ghost house. We didn't even know what it was. And now the city / Parks and Rec, we don't even know who owned it. There's 3 houses here. This is the Newsom house. Then we have the Winfield Jones house next door. And we have the Brown house next door to that has all our historical archives in it. This territory we're on Oak Avenue, which starts the Creek Indian story right here in this area. This area is very, very old and significant because this is the port of embarkation and demarcation, meaning that this new world we see now, everything started right here on West Avenue. For whatever reason, we don't know, but I thank you for listening and paying attention and knowing just how to communicate, knowing the importance of the peninsula and the South Side's relationship as it relates to when George Washington came to this territory, as it relates to Chestnut Avenue being named after the Revolutionary War general, as it relates to Camp Stewart, which is Stewart Gardens now, which has a toxic, very, very toxic historical, not only relationship history, but as we talk about economics, this is the area.
Wow.
So we got the Chase Bag Company, you have the 13 Black Banks, you have the Prince Hall, Scottish Rite, and most of all, we have Miss Lisa Cyphers, and we thank you for just being you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
For bringing us together, because Rhoda Live has brought me to Angela Harris. We would not know each other if you hadn't said, well, look, I'm not speaking your language, but I know someone who does.
Yes. And when you called me and contacted me,
Yeah.
it's been almost a year, I think.
Uh-huh.
And you were speaking, you from the Indian tribe, you chief. I was listening to you, I'm very, in tune with you, but I didn't understand the language because I wasn't that well, educated with our history. I said, I know somebody, if you don't mind, if you can contact her. And I gave you Miss Angela number because that's all she do is, dig up in our history and everything like that. So Chief, I'm glad you and Angela has been working side by side over a year now. And y'all got a lot of things y'all want to explain to all of us about our history. I'm gonna come sit beside you guys, and anyone that speak, we're gonna kind of speak up so that we can hear. What is the importance of us meeting today and gathering here today in Newport News?
Well, it's really significant because this is all like Hampton Roads, and where the ACAC territory actually includes Hampton Roads and the Eastern Shore. So it's really important that we connect because the people of this area need to understand their history and their lineage and also their heritage that's owed to them.
When you use that word ACAC, what you mean by that? Is that a tribe? Is that an area? What is ACAC?
ACAC is the name of a nation. It was actually called ACAC Kingdom. And like I said, it comprised, the territory is pretty big. It comprised the Eastern Shore, that whole peninsula that goes all the way up to Pocomoke, Maryland, and comes all the way across the bay, all the way through Surrey and the Hampton Roads area. It's a very, it's a very big territory of an Indian nation that was connected to the Powhatan tribe, because the king, one of our kings, married a Powhatan daughter, a daughter of King Powhatan, Chief Powhatan. We were all kinfolk, all connected cousins, kinfolk like that. So all of them, whether it's, you're talking about the Nottaways or the Chickahominy, everybody's really kinfolk if they are actually indigenous to to Virginia, which actually Virginia was originally called Virginia. It's
Virginia.
not Virginia. It had nothing to do with Queen Elizabeth. It had to do with the indigenous people here and how what we called it, and a king that we had named Virginia.
Wow.
So the territory really was Virginia.
Wow.
But
So are you telling me that the people here in Virginia who's thinking they're Black Americans and this actually are Indians?
right, that's what I'm actually saying.
Wow.
The people that are indigenous here, who you go back and your great grandparents and your great grandparents, and everybody you know is really from here, or whether it be from North Carolina or whatever. But specifically, we're dealing with our homeland, which is Virginia. We're indigenous to here. We've always been here. And then when you look at books like this, now this is a book that was written in actually in 1612. You can see 1612.
Okay.
1612. This book was written, and it's by William Strachey, Gent. Now he was one of the first secretaries of the colony here, right? Now when he wrote this book, he described the people, and it says, what does that say? Caput.
Where?
See that? See that? What's caput? That word right there.
Oh, Caput, yeah.
Instead of chapter, it says caput.
Caput.
So English was different before we Indians influenced English.
Oh.
So really the English we speaking and the English that the England people speak is really influenced by the indigenous people of America.
Wow.
Because they spoke mostly caput, like a German influenced kind of language. It didn't even sound like it does today.
Wow.
We made it what it is today. So a lot of the words that we speak, we think we speak in somebody else's language. We're speaking our own.
Wow.
They're speaking ours.
Why is it so important that all people learn that we was already here?
Well, I can tell you the most important reason why we need to know that we're already here is because of the land, right? Could you hand me that map over there? That map right there, the Genghis map? Right. So, but the reason that we should also know our history is books like this. So I started collecting historical books, right?
Okay.
And so this book with the caput, it says a true description of the people and their color. They said they're generally a color brown or rather tawny. Okay, and it talks about the mother's castle with a type of arsenic stone. But they talk about the children. If you go down to it, it will tell them that the children, they're supposing they're naturally born discolored, or they said a lighter color, and we get darker with age. Then if you go to the other page, page 71, it says their hair is black, gross, long, and thick. There's nothing about it being straight.
Right.
Okay, gross is what they call it.
Okay.
Okay.
And thick like that.
And thick like that. And also the men, they said the men have no beards, but that's because the younger men were not allowed to have beards. Only the gentlemen, all the elders could have beards. So we shaved. The other historians will tell you that the women shaved, the men are, they were shaved.
Right.
Okay, their noses are broad, flat, and full at the end.
Sorry. Broad, flat. They call me flat nose all my life. And it's broad. That's a wide nose.
That's what it is.
Okay.
That's what it is. Great, this is the big one. Great big lips.
Wait a minute. Is the book talking about me? Because bigger than lips. It must be talking about me.
With a capital L.
Yeah.
They put a capital on lips. Okay. And they have wide mouths. They said specifically, yet nothing in parentheses. Yet nothing so unsightly as the Moors, to say that we were prettier than the Moors, not ugly like the Moors. So Moors are different. Moors are Europeans. Moors are, and we have a specialist that can tell you about the Moors, but they're not us. Generally straight of stature. The women have handsome limbs, slender arms, pretty hands.
Wait a minute. Handsome limbs, so my limbs are long.
Yes.
Pretty hands, long fingers.
Yes.
Long legs.
And when they sing, they have a delightful and pleasant tang in their voices.
Wow.
And you know how we are the singers of the world.
But guess what? I cannot give y'all an example of that because my voice is awful.
She may not got that, but she got other gifts. Okay? Y'all get different gifts.
What's the name of this book?
This book is called, that's right, let me get to that. The History of Travel into Virginia, Britannia, written in 1612 now.
Wow.
1612. You can't get any more primary source than that.
Right. Can you check my camera, make sure we still doing good?
Okay, so then when we talk about why is it important, well, here's what I found out. When I did my genealogy, I found out that all the family, of course we all come from the same, from Virginia in this same area, this territory. But the additional thing is I found out that everybody's connected to this particular people. Once you go back and find out where your people are from, like my great granny was living in this county or this area or this territory, there are Indians associated with it. And then when you find out those Indians, you're gonna find out that your people own patents and land that's still protected to this day and belongs to you to this day. But if you don't know what you are and you don't know who you are, you can't claim nothing.
Wow.
So if you think you're African, you are a immigrant.
Wow.
And you have no rights here in America. So like when Angela said, oh, this house, we don't know who exactly owns it. See, it's only ambiguous because they don't want us to know who exactly owns it, and they don't want us to own it.
Wow.
So this land belongs, this house, these houses, this land belongs to the indigenous people to control and to profit from or do whatever we need to do.
Wow.
However, they sit up there and they make it into a park, and they control your property.
Wow.
And they act like they're protecting it, but it's just a methodology of stealing from you.
Oh.
It's a theft.
Oh.
So this is the Gingaskin. This is the Gingaskin plat. Now this plat is what they said they made into like a subdivision of allotments when they had already originally created our so-called reservation back in 1640. That's very early.
Right.
That's very early for you to come into a country and start daggone regulating.
Right.
Okay, which is kind of hard to understand or really even believe.
Right.
But even if they did do that, or we allowed them to do that, which is also even questionable, they did record this to be true.
Right.
So if you're saying that you have these lands reserved, and our original amount was 1,600 acres, and another one for 650 acres. So that's just on the Eastern Shore. We're not even talking about here in Hampton. We're not talking about the universities, the parks, everything. All these different centers that they actually try to lock off from us that belong to us. We're not talking about all that acreage and all that property and all that profit. We're not talking about the coastline. We're not talking about all the daggone fishing and all the hunting, everything else that they're benefiting from, all the profit. When we talk about mussels and clams and being profitable and not having any access to that as a people. Okay, that was our industry. They didn't know anything about any of this, the farming. Okay, they didn't know anything about this. We taught that to them. We were exporting to the world. Okay, so now this plot is what I said. Wait a minute now, and I started doing my genealogy. Started looking at the names. Okay, Francis. Okay, we got girl here, Bibbin, Bart Baker. We got House. That's my grandfather's name, House.
Wow.
Well, so he's related. This is his great grandfather. So all this is our property. There are houses on this property. There's a little park on this property. There's a bank on this property.
Wow.
There's a park up here. All this is related to my actual direct, not just cousins, but direct grandparents. Okay.
Wow.
So all of us have this in common. We all have this lineage.
Wow.
But if we all think that we are of African descent, we're not going to even look. Isn't that smart of somebody to do that?
Very much so.
That you're from Africa, so you don't even look at what is yours.
So, 3 Jones girls married 3 Smith boys in a historical wedding on the Colonial Parkway in Williamsburg. So, how in the world, right, did they just take all the lands called Smith Dairy Farm, put it up under a church,
right,
and kept moving?
That's what that is what is done, and it's called protection. It's called church. It's called conservation. They call it all kinds of things, but it's really land theft.
Wow.
It's really taking your inheritance. Okay, and that's why it's important to know who you are and to do your genealogy and talk to your elders while you still got them. So you can ask, okay, well, what was the name? What was her last name? What was his last name? And the first names, because the first names carry through too. So when you're looking for your people, and so when I found this, I said, okay, I'm gonna claim my land, because I talked to a brother that said, okay, you can claim land. I know how to do it. I know how to proceed, sue, and get your land or whatever.
Right.
I said, fine, okay, let's do this, because this I'm connected to. My rights.
Right. So even if it's ancestors from all the way down, if you can prove that you're connected to that land, you can claim it.
Because this is the thing. This is patented, crown patented land, does not expire. It goes to the heirs and it goes to the assigned and the heirs forever. That's how it's written. And it's actually been tested in Virginia twice. Now
Wow.
see, the lighter skinned Rappahannocs who have been thoroughly mixed with the European, they sued twice
Wow.
and won the land under the water that was patented
Wow.
in Virginia.
Do you mind if I stop you for a minute? Because everybody know I'm a one-man team.
Right.
So we had to turn the camera around if I can make sure the camera don't go off. Can you just slide her chair over so right there to you? And then you can slide in and I can get in the frame with you. There we go. There we go. Now we back. There we go.
Right. So yeah, so when you understand this, that your land is still yours forever. See now, okay, so what was supposed to happen? So you can actually claim your land.
Okay.
You can quit claim your land. You can you can get your land back. But the corruption in Virginia can prevent you because the corruption in Virginia can prevent you from getting what's yours.
Is that a chief back there too?
Yeah, that's another chief.
How you doing, chief? I met you before.
Yeah.
And you are you a chief? But you do something good with the community too. What you do?
But they have a gun. This is my cousins. They're
Okay.
looking for. This is ACAC Indians.
Okay.
But this is the Phillips family.
Okay.
Okay. Shara and Brian back there is a trainer. He trains you on safe gun handling,
Okay.
safety, first aid, survival skills, all of that. They have a business, and it's in Waverly, Virginia, and they have an outdoor gun range, which is unheard of.
Wow.
And so you go to their outdoor gun range, and not only will you understand how to be safe, but how to survive, how to protect yourself, and everything. They train on that.
Wow.
But as us being the indigenous people, that's very important for us to know how to do that. Because really, we have to sue with our minds. This is a spiritual war. We don't understand it's a spiritual war. If you didn't understand anything, this is not about us taking up arms. But you also have to be safe because there are crazy people out there that don't want you to know who you are, have what you are owed.
Have you ever sued and got land back that belongs to you?
Now I'm in the process of suing right now. Okay. And like I said, the problem with the suing with this is that from the inception, when I actually did my quitclaim, the clerk, by law and by what is all right and good and by all kinds of ethics, should have processed that quitclaim deed because I had the genealogy.
Right.
I showed that I was descended from these people. I showed I had the right to claim the property. That should have been recorded. That deed should have been recorded. But she refused to do so. Okay?
Yes.
She refused to record the deed, and because she refused to record the deed, that's why I did not get the property, and that's what forced me into a lawsuit. So then I had to sue in district court against the bank and against the county. Okay? And so when I sued against the county, it dragged on for almost 2 years. 2 years. And then they dismissed it. They dismissed it when I was when I had actually filed that the county was actually failed to appear. A failure of appearance means that they should have been judgment should have been filed against them. But instead, they didn't show up. They didn't show up, and instead of doing that, they dismissed my case.
What?
That's how corrupt the courts are.
They didn't show up and they dismissed your case. Angie, go ahead. How you like to elaborate?
In Fairfax County, Virginia, we got a call from a brother by the name of Sidney Tobias Harris. The state of Virginia had issued a stop work order on his land. The brother Abdul told the brother about me like this.
Mm-hmm.
We went up, me and Mr. Smith, we went up first. We walked the land. We stayed 3 days to learn the history first, and then we had to go into the courthouse and find these papers. We were in the first courthouse for 3 days, and the lady was playing with us.
Right.
She went to the bathroom, and then the brown lady came to the counter and said, the paperwork you're looking for is not in this building, it's in the historical courthouse. So they had moved the records.
Wow.
Yes. So when we got over to the historical courthouse, in that place itself, they had already created a narrative and a story tying to George Washington in his little blackboard or something like that. We came back home. We called Mama Anita, Anita Harrell, Hugh Harrell, and this is how I know the stuff that I do know about our Indian heritage because of the Chaw City, Mama Anita and Hugh and the Herrera brothers from Hampton. So we go up learning just what we knew, and we went up and we did a trial and error. At that time, I was already in communication with Chief Rosa Holmes Turner from over on the other side of the water through this brother by the name of John Lockett, Herman Roulette, and her Fred Spratley. At the time, Fred was fighting for his oyster beds. The county over there, Alright County, they had moved some paperwork around, changed some things, and did some things. So it was an effort. But we can honestly say, and Rosa can send y'all the link, we reclaimed 14 acres of land, and it's in that brother's name right now.
Wow.
So it's trial and error. We did it in Virginia, but we have to do it together. If I attack it over here, they're gonna come and get you.
Right.
If you attack it over there, they're gonna come and get her. But if we attack it together like this, they can't come and get nobody. And that's how we found Richard Press and his wife Lorraine, and they're all our cousins.
Rhoda,
One.
Yes, ma'am.
just to add to that too, one of the other ways that you do it together is that when Chief is talking about, when she's talking about fighting in court or whatever, it's also good to know the codes, know the laws, because when you're fighting this, you gotta put those codes.
Can you come right here for us, case the camera can't pick your voice up?
That we're trying to,
Okay, right here.
Okay, you come here.
Come, you got over here and don't see. Nice to meet you again, Chief. Good to see you.
just the one thing about it is that, I'm a Class A builder,
Okay,
so you gotta know the codes.
okay.
And they'll, a lot of times with this Commonwealth of Virginia, that they will try to get you because you don't know.
Right.
And so our knowledge that we learn is good to know. But we were able to go up, we had to go to a hearing. There was a hearing with Commonwealth of Virginia
Everybody.
against Sidney Harris.
We watched
So-
them eat that pencil.
And the lawyer that was doing this, I mean, she was so adamant about taking his land. They've already taken, millions of dollars of their land already that they put them all on.
Wow.
And he's just trying to save his land for a farm. And they were just like, well, this is not a farm, and you're breaking code, you're doing this. And so when we went in, I went in as an expert witness to help him. And we went in basically saying that from a farm standpoint, that you can have certain buildings on your property and you're exempt as a farmer from
Okay.
having certain building codes or honoring certain buildings. You still gotta be safe, but you don't have to go through the same process.
Right.
And so that's what we went through. We assessed the buildings and everything else. And then after that, she was still, they had given them thousands of dollars in fines, correct?
Wow.
And so, and they were like, well, this is not a farm, this is not a farm. We went all the way back to what? To show that this was a farm called Hope Park Plantation.
Wow.
And a plantation ain't a farm.
Right.
What is it? And so,
That's right.
so the expert, the person that was overseeing this to make the judgment was like, was telling the attorney, well, he even got an expert witness. They know what they're doing. They did their research. Where's yours? I mean, she was about to eat that pencil up, wasn't she?
Wow.
And he dismissed that case in his favor. And now he has his land,
Wow.
You're talking about another one, my land, and where I sit on our reservation in Smithfield in Alawite County, which we call Rushmere, that was, my land was in a wrongful foreclosure in 2008. Not because I was behind on anything, because they wanted to run a bypass through my property
Wow.
and everything. But that was the excuse to say, oh, she lost the land during the housing crisis when they were taking everybody's land.
Right.
And so it took me from 2008, December 2008, January 2008 to July 14, 2023 to win my property.
Wow. And you won.
2023.
Wow.
When the judges had, and it was like, but it took, even that, it's like, I know it's a spiritual warfare.
Yes.
They don't want you to tell our story.
Mm-hmm.
They want your land. They want to develop our land. We can't do that. Same thing with her. So as we're mobilizing together, we also need to mobilize some real attorneys
Right.
that can do some things that we need to do. Because I was able to keep one of my cases together for about 2 years before I could afford an attorney.
Right.
But
Well,
but
that's
that's
the
the
pro
thing.
se. I don't know how to use attorney.
Okay.
But and I think that for me, it's like the more people that know the law and can sue pro se, then you're not caught up in a system where these people are friends. These people work together.
They do.
They're in cahoots,
Right.
and their job is to compromise you as much as they can, but try to not to get you what you asking for, but try to get you as little as possible. So I think the more like we know, and then the next generation knows of how to defend ourselves. Because if you look in court records, if you look in these old records, we were in the courts. Negroes were in the courts all the time. We were representing ourselves against whether it was former employees, as indentured servants, whether we were suing each other.
Right.
This legal system that we have today, where common citizens can stand in court and stand up for themselves, is not European. That is American Indian.
Wow.
Because it was here before they got here.
It's an Indian that's really missing off y'all panel. Miss Mary Hill. I would like to also get y'all in contact with her.
She's our
Oh,
family member.
we-
She's a family.
Okay.
So I went to jail with Mary actually.
Oh, Mary Hill.
Mary Hill, it has in her possession all the Prince Hall paraphernalia, the county and the church, and we got to tape the video. You should ask her for it. The county and the church that her mother had donated the land to them, they actually got out there on the church property and they cheered as the city came to tear down the oldest Prince Hall building documented with records over on Mary land.
Right.
That's how I met Mary. And so Mary was also fighting for the water stuff with
The well water.
with Fred Spratt. And so what they did over there, and that's why this is so important. The Civil War is still going on. Because the old don't know the young don't know the old, light skin, all this old stuff.
And information is not being passed on down through the generation too.
I'll beg to differ on that.
I will too.
And the reason I beg to differ is because you just mentioned Mary Hill. And Mary Hill and Andrew Shannon and Mary Hill Mama, right? That's SCLC, right?
But it's been passed on to people like you that's in tune with it. But in regular households, information is not being passed on. I want you to go to a school and just see three and see 4 or 5 kids come out. Now I want you to ask them, what's your mother's name? What's your grandmother's name? They're gonna get lost when you ask them what's your great grandmother's name.
You can do that to the adults around here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But that's what I'm saying. Information.
I'm trying to say something to you. See,
Is that information?
They suppress their. I'm trying to say, some kind of way that we, Black, Negro, colored, African American, Creole, we some kind of way turned Greek, right? I'm just telling you what happened. And then after we turned Greek, then we turned Masonic. And then we forgot that we were Prince Hall, so most of us are Scottish Rite. And then we forgot that the Eastern Stars. And then we forgot, all of them forgot, that they supposed to take care of the widows and the children. So what we've been doing is joining these municipalities, right? Like this one. You know this one real well, because I called you when the city manager got fired. And I meant that I personally called you, just like I called you, because we know it's important to codify this. Because if we don't, it don't exist.
Let me go back to the Mary Hill first of all, just to let you know how we do know Mary Hill. Mary Hill is a cousin. Her father, Ernest Hill, is a relative of mine from Surrey County. And then her mother, Brinkley, Marie Brinkley, is my sister-in-law, is the Turner side of the family's grandmothers, great-grandmothers, and all of those. So we are cousins. And the other thing is, she is a signer on our sovereign declaration.
And that's why I know that Mary Hill is very in tune into stuff like this because her land. That's why I want to make sure that Mary Hill will be part of this panel if you did not know her. Because she needs to be sitting here with us as well. But I'm glad she is a part of it. Also,
Kelly Hingler from Eclipse. See,
also, Mary Hill is going through a lot. I fight with her and her mother before Miss Marie. That's why I think I mentioned
because what they were doing. See, the thing of it is, the ones she was fighting with are also cousins. Those ones are cousins too.
Right.
My role was to make sure that the elder was not taken advantage of.
Right.
But
And
that
the
was
thing about it is, like Mary is now, she's really now thinking that it's bigger than just family members that want that land. It's someone behind the family members that
It's
want
always
that
somebody. It's the
land.
developers.
Yeah, it's the developers,
Yeah.
and what they're trying to do is come in and gentrify the whole neighborhood and the community. And what people don't understand is, once we allow these people to take our land and build a brand new house beside your house
Right.
that you've been having in your family for years, it depreciates your house, and then they start telling you that your house that's been there for 100 years no longer fit the community.
This is why I said the other person that needs to be on this panel is Kelly Hengler. So when the sewage spill came to this area, they released so many tons and millions of raw sewage into our James River that took and messed up the fish and stuff, not just over here, all the way. So this light-skinned girl, I call them light-skinned,
Okay.
she's a part of the Bennett plantation farm, whatever
She's
the
a
stuff going
Bennett
on
descendant.
over there. But she, light-skinned cousin, had enough love for Angela Harris to come in this community and get on these corners. Didn't know me. Y'all know Angela, y'all know Angela, y'all know Angela, because she wanted to make sure and ensure that our children that was still playing on all that contaminated stuff, raw sewage, feces and everything, she wanted to make sure, right, that Angela Harris and her children and her elders and stuff were safe. That was Kelly. She came from Eclipse. Kelly also was the one on the front line fighting with Mr. Roosevelt over in To, right? Kelly also is the one, she light-skinned. She might go for white, but now she knows she Woodland after she met Angela. And that's a Woodland Indian, right? We had to claim each other. It is what it is. But Kelly was also the one on the front line with Mr. Jones, right? And Mr. Jones' wife was beat up by those people over in that municipality, right? To.
When you say municipality, for the ones that don't understand, like myself,
Mhm.
what do you mean by that?
It's
The
the city of Suffolk.
The people that you pay their salary to represent you, to speak for you, that's your congressman, your senate, your delegate, and this is why we do Civic 101. Who's responsible for what? So when we get the call, sis, right? When I get the call from Mary, from Kelly, the same way Kelly came over here, I returned the favor. I went to Eclipse. And I went over to the Rooting Club, right? Whatever the Rooting Club is, look it up. And they probably ain't never seen nobody look like me before over there on the Eclipse Island, right? And I stopped at the church first and I asked them, light-skinned cousin, can I get some of that free food? Now I went over to the cemetery and I asked them, where's our black people in the cemetery? Black, Negro, color, African American. I'm just saying that we do know, right? And when we work together to suppress our own history, and when we look at each other and don't value each other, therein lies the problem. So it's not white or black, because white and black is a status at the United Nations, right? And so I left Mr. Linwood the group today for that reason. This is important. This is how we supposed to show up. And we supposed to show up together. And I just want to shut up right now because I want to absorb all this from Lisa, Chief Lisa Cypress, that we have now connected the Eastern Shore back to our relatives that's been separated for 100 years, and we got the paperwork. That's all. This how you supposed to show up together.
Thank you. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Penny. I'm actually Lisa's sister. But I think that one of the things that we need to address, because I'm sure like a lot of the viewers are like, they don't look Indian.
Okay.
You know, they don't look Indian. Their hair is not straight. They're too dark. They can. So Lisa, can you explain the difference between American Indian and Native American? Because that's often confused.
Yeah, the Native American, and I think this behind me, if they could actually zoom in and see it, this thing behind me actually demonstrates the difference in a way, because the first contact people, as when I read in that book that I just read, these people had big lips various shades of brown, gross, thick hair, beautiful singing voices. Those kind of people were all the way up from New England, all the way down across the South, the Midwest, all the way California. All that territory was all AmER'ICAN, some people like to say. But they're American Indians, right?
Can I stop you for 1 second? Cynthia said earlier, this lady who is speaking told the history shows that indigenous Indian people were light-skinned, but their skin darkened as they grew older.
No, the babies were born light. Just like our babies are born light. You look at the ears, you tell how dark they're going to be. You know what I mean? They knew that about our babies. Our babies are born lighter than our complexion that when we grow up.
Right.
That's what the book was talking about. It was talking about the babies being born. But it said the people were various shades of brown. Sometimes they describe us as chestnut brown, sometimes copper colored, various shades of brown, but all the primary sources described us as brown skinned people. And then they talk about California, and depending on your territory, they said they were the blackest things they ever seen. Even they said Powhatan was black as night. Okay?
Wow.
And I wanted to just comment on that too. And if you look at the historians like the early individuals that came here, like John White, or even Captain John Smith, the first thing that they wrote in their booklet and their research is that the Indians were copper colored. They were not, olive colored as we see. And if you notice some of now, like I said, we are chiefs of our tribe and we know that. But even the 6 of the 7 chiefs that you see here in Virginia, these individuals, they've been told by certain universities not to do their DNA, and we know why, because their DNA don't show that they're indigenous. Their DNA doesn't come up like ours did. We had the federal government did 120 of us from our tribe to do our DNA, and all of us came up indigenous, and they were like, this is impossible. How could this happen? So the other thing about it too is that one of my ancestors that came over from Portuguese, but his name was John Wallace de Rosario. He's my 3rd great grandfather. And the information that he has, and he was a member of the Chickahominy tribe. 1806, William and Mary has him. They were saying that the first black enrolled in William and Mary in 1951. That's what they found in the Living Project. Well, William and Mary had to call me. They said, well, Miss Turner, we got a question, because now we see your ancestor, John Wallace de Rosario, enrolled in 1806, and he petitioned, and he was a mathematician and all of this thing. How is this possible? That's what they're saying. But he was a member of the Chickahominy tribe, and then during the Civil War, they left here, went up to Canada with some of our other indigenous tribes up there, and then they came back after the Civil War.
Right. When I was speaking with my grandmother, as she was aging, she used to like me to comb her hair. I still have the green comb that she used. And I said, Big Mom, I said, why is your hair so silver and so the texture of it? And she turned around, she said, oh, we got Indian in our family. We're Indian. And you as a person of my color, my skin complexion, when you tell people, oh, they're Indian in me, they bust out laughing because everybody looking for the Indian that they taught you that's an Indian. But no one want to talk about the regular Indians that, like ourselves, that was already here. Angie, go ahead. You have the floor.
I want to elaborate on something we was talking about earlier, because I'm 51. And I know you know how to take this story to another level. So this young man right here and his wife, they're the Phillips family, right? And so in Hampton, as we see the preachers' convention that we see now, it was started in John Mallory Phillips' building, right? And some kind of way, somebody went out Hampton and pulled all John Mallory Phillips seafood signs up off of Rip Rap Road. And that can't happen. So I'm glad y'all here, right? So we can speak to that John Mallory Phillips story, which is the Waterman story. And John Mallory Phillips was also a mayor of Hampton. So it's important, right, that we start talking and asking questions, because even the mayor of Hampton, his name was George Wallace. Everybody know he's famous for laying in the street for 3 minutes and then getting up. But he was strong, and he was Williamsburg Wallace. So he was the only one that knew any history of Sam Harris. So I'm going to say, go ask him, that elder. And I asked him, and he said, Sam Wallace building is such and such and such on the grounds of women marriage. Know yourself so you can be yourself. And make sure and ensure that you go back to these school of thoughts, which is these churches. I had no idea that some of our first of our family were black Catholic. You know, but they cut the whole Catholic. She was with me. I took her over because we got a call. They were feeding our people over at St. Vince across the fence. I say, come on with me. They gonna open that fence. All I did was stood back, looked at her real good. And then she opened that gate because she know I'm not playing with her. Right. You can't do that. That program, that food program is Miss Cherry's program. And we should respect that. And we should make sure that we holding people accountable for treating our people like human and not no cattle, and we not just a normal. This is why this is important.
Before we go further, I would like to take time out and introduce the audience and see why they came out and what made this so important to them. And we're gonna get right back to you, Chief. We'll start with your sister behind the lady in the yellow shirt.
Okay.
Can you stand up for me? So you can see you. Thank you.
Well, you know, I'm going to support my sister anyway. I'm also on the council, so it's important for me to be here. But it's important for us as a people to just do our genealogy, learn what our lineage is. Don't rely on DNA to tell your story. You actually have to do the research. Yeah. You have to go beyond your grandfather, your great. We have tribal members that are in the Surrey area that stayed in the Surrey area and didn't realize that we originated from the Eastern Shore, from Northampton. So they thought that, oh, we were slaves. Don't buy into the lies that we were told. Don't buy into the lies that you have to have straight hair and a certain skin and high cheekbones to be an American Indian. You are not Native American. You're American Indian. We don't have the same facial structure. We don't have the same skin tone. My granddaddy was black as night. My mother was dark skinned. So you can't go by that. Both of our parents are full-blooded American Indian. So it's really important for us to do the work, to know who we are, to claim what we are, to get our land back. ACAC Indians, we were told that if we were going to stay in Northampton, we had to and continue to identify as American Indian, we had to leave Virginia.
Wow. What should we check on the box when they ask us for our race?
I'm American Indian.
I check American Indian.
American Indian.
And the reason why I know we do is because of the fact in the 1870s, you can see that they were even with the Walter Plucker time frame, you can see that they changed our family members from Indian to black. We have those records, the census records.
Wow.
So
in Virginia, they stated that if you lived on a reservation, you were called Indian. If you lived off the reservation, you were called Negro.
Wow.
Same person.
Same person.
Just a location change.
right.
Wow.
And then our parents and my mom and the rest of the parents in Surrey County, they didn't put a race period by their names.
Wow.
And some people, and a lot of us before the turn of the century, before Plecker, we had dual citizenship. We had our nation and we also were citizens of the United States. We should have the freedoms of being the sovereign people that we are, but also all the benefits due us from the United States of America. And we should not be giving up anything, and they owe us. But that's why they want to make you an immigrant, because they owe us. This is ours. So rather than owe us, they want to jail us. They want to confuse us. They want to, again, give us a new name. Why are we called all these different names? Color, mulatto, Negro, black, Afro-American. Yes, African American. Yes, exactly. Why do we have all these names? No, why other people that come into this country are given so many different race titles. It's because of the how important it is to keep us away from our heritage and our land.
Right.
Something came to me just now, and while we got this, Lisa, this live, please tell us a little bit about those elders.
Let me try to get through
that
it.
part.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back around. Yeah, let me bring everybody.
I'm just want to make sure I don't forget.
I just want to cause yeah.
You're 50 what?
Thank
He said
you.
it 3 times.
Yes, can you tell me your name and why you're here, why this meeting is important for you?
My name is Shara Phillips, maiden name Williams. Chief is my cousin by way of my father, and I was always raised being told about my American Indian history. Having children, it's even more important for me to know my lineage and know my history so that they're aware and so that they know.
Wow. I'll ask the same question to your husband.
My name is Brian Phillips. I'm here in support of my wife. Also for the same reason, I want to know her lineage, and I also want to be able to, like, if anything ever happened to her, I would love to know that I can tell my children who they are. I would hate for them to not know their background.
Wow, amazing. Young lady behind both of the chief, can you stand up for me? Thank you. Can you tell me your name and why it's important that you're here?
My name is Naomi. I am the, hold on. Oh, this is acting weird. My name is Naomi, and I am the Wawanswas daughter or chief. So I'm here in support of the summit that we have annually. We have it around the time of Indigenous Peoples Day, which used to be Columbus Day, which was horrible because, you know, his history and the Moors, specifically what they did. And it's a celebration that we have annually. We do different things each day. We are doing something different, being on a different part of the territory that's ACAC, which encompasses Hampton Roads. And I'm just here to support.
Thank you.
Yes. My name is Thomas Madison. I'm actually an ACAC council member as well. And I'm here in the support, of course, and to keep the truth alive. And as you mentioned earlier, I did want to touch bases on how we were not only on reservation, not only if you were living on reservation in Virginia, but if you even left, if you were living on reservation, you left for any reason, like to go to a store, just to see someone, you were non-Indian until you came back on reservation. So that applied just to leave, you know what I mean? So and it was just, it's a rich history, and pretty much we're just here to unfold the lies.
Wow. When you say council, you're council of the Indian tribe or?
The ACAC Nation.
ACAC Nation. Wow.
We don't actually go into tribes. That's actually
European.
that's terminology, right? Put on us. We actually went by bands, clans, and nations. So we'll be actually the ACAC Nation. First contact of Virginia, 1607.
Thank you. Last but never least. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Carter. I am here to support the chief, Lisa Cypress, her daughter Naomi, and sister Penny. For me, this has just been a great learning opportunity and experience, and really I'm here for support and for my own edification and education.
Wow, thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Angie real quick, then we're going to get back to Chief. Angie, what is it that you want us to learn from Chief today?
One is that communication is important. Two, that we should respect each other's work and culture and heritage. Three, we should never forget the fight of those that was before us, so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. And 4 is to make sure that we codify our work, that we supporting you and bringing you out so that we can get our story out.
I would like to personally thank each and every last one of you guys for contacting me as many times as y'all have contacted me. And I also like to thank each and every last one of you guys for sewing into the Road to Young Live platform. Angie, I want to thank you for coming out to city council meetings with me when I was wrongfully banned out the city council for fighting for our people. And I was fighting for all people, you know, and it was wrong. And you came up and you spoke at city council. I would like to thank you when the city manager of Newport News was terminated. You called me to make sure that I knew what goes around also comes around if you just be patient.
Right.
And guys, I want us to learn to sit around more like-minded people like yourselves. The only way I am 10% abreast of what y'all talking about is because I open myself up to listen and to learn. And that's what we're here for. The people on social media right now, they're making comments. They said very informational, great information.
Let me also mention, thank you so much for being here and for being the person you are, the activist that you are in your platform and how you've grown it and your audience. It's amazing and tremendous that you've become the entrepreneur and the actual media star that you are today. I appreciate you. We really appreciate you being there for us and bringing us together. I also wanted to mention Kelly Hengler as well. Kelly Hengler had a very good suggestion for if anybody feels that their elderly or their buildings or their property is in danger. She had a very good suggestion to take it, a way to take action. What you can do is contact your congressman, and what you can do is have a congressional inquiry done on the status of that building. It is very simple to contact your congressman and request a congressional inquiry. But what it does is it lets those developers and those people that are trying to get their hands on that indigenous property, especially the elderly property, senior property, the daggone HUD property, and HUD, I want to also make a mention to the audience, HUD is Indian housing, okay? The HUD housing is Indian housing, okay? The Civil Rights Act is the Indian Civil Rights Act. They know you're the Indian. It's about time y'all start understanding. The government has you listed as Indian. Projects are Indian housing. If you live in a project, you're living in a reservation. That is Indian housing, okay?
Wow.
Get your mind around that, okay? So if they're putting any kind of thing where they're trying to remove our projects, remove our senior housing, remove housing for our elderly, we need to go ahead and file a congressional inquiry on that. And it's all available online. It's very simple. You can do it.
Thank you for that, Chief, and we really appreciate you. Now we're going to get down to business while we're really here, and we're going to open the floor up to Chief so she can go ahead and share with us the information that we need to know. You have the floor.
All right. So I just kind of, like I was saying, people understanding who they are. It's very important for you to understand that in the images that we've been given as far as our people and what we are in reality is far different. So this is a book that I recently acquired that is actually the records of the Virginia Company, London. Okay, so we're going back to Colonial, okay? We're going back to 1607, okay? So we're going to get the Virginia Company records, the court book from the manuscript in the Library of Congress. This is a Library of Congress book, okay? These are the records, okay, of the Virginia colony, okay? But when I got this book, I unpacked it live, and I was very much shocked. Very much. Okay, oh, sorry. Let me get it open to you. I'm sorry, I lost it. First page. Okay, first page. Oh, the first page is all deep in there. Okay. Yeah, the Virginia colony.
So we're going to give y'all evidence. We're not just going to talk. We're going to give you the receipts that comes with it. You got the Chief.
Okay, so this is the actual thing. And so when you get into this, you go page by page. And you know, and the handwriting, the names, Smith and Thomas and all these things, when they talk about the Privy Council, these are a collection of documents, 1616 and 1624. Okay, we got a collection of documents, 1606, the organization of the company, as in 1606. Okay, so but the thing that was startling to me, that I want to let the audience know, is that I went through these documents page by page. I was just on live, just looking through the documents, through the years, the daggone records that they kept, okay? And when I looked through these records, these miscellaneous papers and documents of the colony, of the formation, I did not see any 1619 arrival of any Negro.
Not at all.
What?
Not at all.
There is no record.
There
is
was
none.
1619 tied. We've been tied.
So what I did find was the arrival of prisoners from England, orphan children, hundreds of them from England. Several records from the 1800s, the 1900s, and not the 18, the 16, 18, 16, 19, and 1620. They brought in hundreds of orphans from England. Okay.
So you don't, in that book, it do not show where
There's
Negroes.
no regular, no record of any Africans, Negroes, or anything. If you go through this whole book that goes all the way to 1624 from 1607.
And what is the name of the book once again?
This is the Congressional, the Library of Congress, records of the Virginia Company of London. The Virginia Company of London.
What do that mean?
That means when they formed, whatever they came over here, what they did, all their records from the time they arrived here, yes ma'am. This is a record of what they did. This is like this today.
So what she said too, nothing is hidden.
Nothing is
It's
hidden.
in a book.
It's in a book. Okay.
They say they want, if you want to hide anything from
That's it. A black
us,
person.
a black
put it in
person,
the
put it in the book.
Put in the book. Yeah. 'Cause we
But
don't-
if you look in here,
But in the book, you was telling us that there's no record showing that we was brought over.
no, none. But there's a record of the Caucasian, possibly, maybe black Europeans, but they were brought over from England as prisoners and orphans. No one came from Africa. There was no ship of Negroes or Africans in these records all of these years. And it goes through every month, August, September again, September 3rd, September 10th, September 6th, every date.
Hold right there. Go ahead, Angie.
Got a question. You brought the word out and we just did. So I get this a two-part question for both chiefs, right? So the first one is we were at the contraband stuff. Me and Rosa, she called me on her way through the hoop. And the contraband story is being told, and the man is saying, I don't know the history, I don't know the answer, right? So Rosa's gonna elaborate on that. So I was in Hampton at the Tucker Cemetery recently, and Glenn Oldham was there. He worked on the King William Reservoir project. I told him I need to see him. And Justin Fairfax was there, and they had a convoy from Angola. And I'm saying that to say, because they tried to tell me about the 1619 stuff too, and I don't remember that, right? So can you tell me what that Angola piece is, and why are they trying to tie that Angola piece to that 1619 type of story or something like that?
Well, I think first of all, the key is in words. Words are powerful. They're witchcraft. They tell you things that you have to really, really dive in to understand. So when they say project, focus on the project. It's a project.
It's a grant-funded project.
And
It's a project.
And it's a project that is meant to keep you under some sort of spell of misinformation.
So we went back to the dates. You say in 1619, August, September, you was reading off the months that you see. No, take us back there.
That's okay. Let's go to 1619. I'm just gonna go and roll with y'all. Okay.
Roll it.
Roll it. Okay. So now we got 1619. I'm looking in. Okay, where am I at? November. Let's go. Okay, 1612, 1613. Okay. Here we are. 16. Here we go. 1619. We'll go back. All right. Let's see if we can catch an earlier date. Because basically this is 1618, a complete list of adventures to Virginia, amounts and holdings, deed for calcification, Abraham Jacob received tobacco, okay, there's nothing about no Negroes there, John Chamberlain, concerning the death of Pocahontas, okay, well, Pocahontas died, okay, that's January 18th, that's 1617, 1618, okay, then we got John Robinson, William Buster, the Puritans, did a letter to Wollaston Home. Okay, that's nothing. Then we got John Chamberlain wrote a letter about the departure of Lord War of Virginia. Okay. Then we got February of 1618. We got order addressed to Kikotin not to permit landing of sailors on the arrival of vessels. Okay, that's the Indian chief. Kikotin. Then we have also Governor Argyle. to
So Pickett is Hampton.
Pickett is the Hampton.
Okay.
And then we have also Privy Council in March that met, and there was a escaped debtor that was not to be harbored in Virginia. So we're still moving along. We're gonna go to 16. We're at 1618. Let's move out of 1618, but let's not, because in Salisbury there's a mayor, the letter to the mayor. There's a letter to the alderman. Okay, then we got here we go. June 1618, order for transportation of prisoners to Virginia. That's by the Privy Council. They ordered the transportation of prisoners to Virginia. Okay, well, we don't have anything declaring that as a whole project.
Well,
okay,
I can add to the prisoner part.
Okay.
If you look at the history, when you're looking at King Louis XIV, where he was prosecuting those and saying that the Catholics going to be the only ones and the only religion and da da da. He was capturing and prosecuting the Protestants, anybody that believed in anything other than Catholicism. And so what they did, even at that point in 1571, when they said the massacre of Saint Bartholomew, when he was massacred over in France and England area, then that's when they started putting everybody in jail. Then they got this bright idea, because some of our families even over there could afford to bring themselves over here. And so King Louis XIV made a deal with them and said, okay, let's send them to the New World where the natives have been friendly to invite them in. Part of those areas that they invited in, you're looking at ACAC, you're looking at Wawascoyac, you're looking at Monacan, and all of these different places that they actually came and they settled in there. So that's why we can find our records even in 1571, where Robert Poole, who came over, was a French missionary who named our community in our area that's called Rushmere. It was named in 1582, 35 years before Captain John Smith got here. And so that's when the Pope even said to their little Republican Speaker of the House before, the one before was named Boehner or whoever, saying people been here thousands of years before you even got here, before the English colonists got here. And so when we look at our records too, I can go to the Marigold and see my ancestor coming over here, Thomas Hughes, 1620. I can go into the Sea Wolf. I can go into all these different Francis, the ships. We can go into these records and see. And that's why my head used to spin when I go to Jamestown, when I was even in school, to see a slave ship, because how come I know all these boats that my ancestors came over?
right.
If they were just on a slave ship.
Ships have manifests. They record things.
Every one of them.
And then you also have to understand that when you're shipping somebody over and you're saying that something's going to go across from Africa, you got to understand how, first of all, how turbulent the Atlantic is in that part of the world, trying to get over to America.
The sea
You
goes
can't
a
do it.
different way.
It goes a different direction. So in order to get here, you would have to have manpower at the bottom. You'd have to have a rowing section. You couldn't do it with a sailboat. And even then it would be turbulent, and it would not be something that would be easily obtained.
No.
The other thing is, as a nurse, you know, you lay down on a stretcher for a few hours, you're going to have a bed sore. So you laying on your butt with feces, vomit, blood, and God knows what else, rats, roaches. They're not cleaning, because in Europe they didn't know about sanitation. We knew about sanitation. We was washing before our hands before meals and bathing. We had bathing at special areas, special like bathing areas and saunas for our women folk. We did that. We knew all about sanitation. They did not. So do you think they was cleaning? If they were to even do, if that was true, we would not survive. Okay, there's no way you would have a live person. And then if you had a half dead person, then you got to nurse them back to health. They don't know the language. There ain't no records of interpreters. Where are the interpreters? Where's all the African interpreters? Where's the influence of the African languages in our languages? Because if that many people were brought over that had that kind, that came from that origin, everything, our words would be influenced. Our food would be influenced by Africa, where it's actually in reverse. Tomatoes don't come from Africa, they are from the Americas. All your nightshade vegetables, most of the vegetables and fruits that are all over the planet originate in the Americas. They do not come in reverse from Africa.
So, Lisa, just on what you, Chief Lisa, no disrespect, just on what you just said, like, so I've been watching them for 20 years, right? Not black, nobody in that brown house. Like, I asked for that brown house to be open today too, because I know what's in there, right? So the Parks and Rec, the City of Newport News, We had a board here, whole bunch of people that worked together to take all the archives that you're looking for
Right.
and put it in that brown house. To the point that even the Maharian Indians that live here with us, that never claimed us either, they live here with us, right?
Right.
And so the Maharian, which is the Turtle Clan, they helped put all our records in that brown house. And when Chief Brown died in 2019, we didn't even know the man was dead. So would it be fair to say that all our records that we looking for
Right.
and stuff like that, maybe that's why they never opened that house. Maybe that's why they never bought a copier machine.
Right.
So even if you
Right.
visited
You can't
today,
even get a copy.
you can't even get a copy. And they did that for 20 years
Right.
in this house, right?
Right.
In this same house. And we paid them a salary
Right.
to suppress all our history
Right.
and start us back over with Mr. Newsom, Republican Mr. Newsom, too. Let me
Yes.
say that too. Republican Mr. Newsom from Farmville. So,
Right.
is it fair to say that they stole all our records and have them over there in the brown house? That's why we can't get in?
Well, and I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
you too, if the place is not, climate controlled,
That's
Yes.
what I've been. That's how it
then
is.
it's literally destroying your
They're
records.
dying.
Come
Yeah,
on.
records are just
And it's when you finally pick it up, it's gonna crumble
fall
in your
apart.
hand.
Mhm.
So it needs to be a Freedom of Information Act requested to your municipality to see if you all can access those records as a group, not just as
The
yourself.
other thing is
Mhm.
also,
So
what
that
about
way-
these houses and all this, who does it really belong to? And then that needs to be clarified. These things need to be, in the right hands, not in these government hands. These people are people that came and took over our land and taking our place and taking our daggone possessions, and we need to repossess what is ours.
And I want to say one more thing about this book in support of what she's saying too. If you look at these things, when they talk about the 1619, the 1619 story and ledger that they had for the ship came from the Portuguese and the Spaniards. It didn't come from Virginia. So they're trying to make a story for theirs that don't even fit in their
And the reality
dynamic.
is that how you gonna have a ledger from them when
And it was
it was supposed to
Ndongo
be,
and
yeah.
not Angola.
And there was-
Angola is not even, that's an English name.
and none of that
Ndongo.
existed at that time. All of that, none of that's real, okay? Because what was called in Angola, they use these terms, and these places weren't even called that during that time. So they go from Angola to Ngong, but they making up names because they're making up history. And because we just take it as for to be the truth, we go with it. Williamsburg made a whole display acting like we coming from Africa. I said that is outright, but
So they just made a whole new display?
no, it's been around for some years.
Okay.
But they do have a display there that talks about, it's coming from Africa and African corn. Corn comes from America. Come on,
Maize,
man.
what the first thing they burned when they came to try to take our land?
Come
They
on
burned the
now.
maize. They
Come
burned
on.
the Three Sisters items that they had, the squash, the corn, the beans. That came, that was already here.
So if you don't know about the Lemon Project that's going on at William and Mary, look it up because they lying. If you don't know about the Smith Dairy Farm that they still own on the Colonial Parkway, read about it. Then they have another one that they lying
The
about, which is
reservation.
the Reservation Project.
That's Camp Perry and Yorktown.
If people want to become as fluent with the information that y'all are with, how do we become as fluent with y'all? Like,
Well, one of the things I'm going to say from our standpoint is we have to start inviting you to what we do. We're on purpose on about having events, having virtual or anything else where our people can come and you all can come and hear us. And not just letting one of the things that just happened in White County to me, not just let a little director from their museum to try to tell our story or get a picture from me and put it on their thing courtesy of and not even ask my permission. So these are things that we do. We own our information. We own our grave sites. We don't let the archaeologists come digging in the teeth of our ancestors. We don't, these are things that we don't do.
let me ask you this: Williamsburg, I love Williamsburg, but there's really no history. When we go to Colonial Williamsburg, it's all about.
It's a
It's
colonial
not.
story. Go ahead.
It's
I'll
not.
let you say.
Look up Lightfoot Solomon Mishaw. A lot of people don't know that right now we getting ready to get the statue of Lightfoot Solomon Mishaw on Jefferson Avenue and 20th Street. So when you go to Jefferson Avenue, you got the Moulton Community House that's named after Robert Russell Moulton. the Church of God, that's the Lincoln Theater, that's Miss Shaw Church. Then you cross the street, you have Father Divine building over there, that's the Kool-Aid man that made his congregation drink the Kool-Aid and they died.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, right behind that, you have the House of Prayer for all people. The House of Prayer now own more land than the federal government, so they've been fighting our family for 10 years.
Someone mentioned the word Camp Perry and Yorktown. What's that?
Yeah, Camp Perry it's an area, it's an army base. It's a weapons area.
Yeah.
And so individuals like we talked about, the Wallaces, the Joneses, the Johnsons, all of our family members that were placed on that reservation, when the army needed it, they kicked them off, and they gave them certain many days to kick them off. Well, now the families are mobilized, and they're a part of the Kiskiak tribe. So Chief Charles Bowman is the chief now. And so with that, they were trying to kick them off, and which they did, they kicked them off. But now, say for instance, they even want to go to visit their ancestors' gravesite. If they go as a group, they're not going to let them come as a group. It's a conspiracy. They can't do that. They have to get advance requests to go onto their property that they were kicked off of in order to even pay homage to their ancestors.
Then we got to claim each other too, sister, because even when I got a call for that little reservation, not little, let me change that big reservation project, right? And I'm just Angela from Newport News, but I was called in the aftermath. And all they wanted me to do was come up there and give them this genealogy that I didn't even know what I was doing and being pimped by people that look like us, right? People that look like us. So it's important that we're listening to each other. It's important that we know how Williamsburg connect to Newport News, Lee Hall. It's important that we know how, on that note, Lisa, tell us about that bridge you taught me about that used to connect ACAC to this territory.
Well, I mean, the other thing that we don't understand is that when they came to this country, it wasn't primitive. We weren't out living in long houses and, living out in the rough. This book right here will tell you. This one is written by Eric. He was a mathematician, a botanist, a scientist of all forms. This was written in 1588. Okay, 1588. This book was written. And they came here and they were looking at what they could profit off of. Even the worms, the silkworms, whatever they could make money off of. Every plant, every daggone animal. But when they came here in this book and he described Virginia, he said the towns. The towns. He didn't say that it was huts.
Right.
He didn't say we were camping. He didn't say we were nomadic. He didn't say we lived in huts. He said we had small towns.
Wow.
Just like anything that he would probably see anywhere else, but towns, okay? So we got to understand. So when I started looking at maps, I started looking at old maps as well and trying to collect as many old maps as we can. I found a map and I'm looking at this map and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is a daggone bridge. A bridge that goes from Cape Charles area to Newport News.
Wow.
A very, very long bridge. But we were we were engineers, we were builders of bridges.
And that's the other thing too, when you talk about the prisoners that came, but that's one of the things that they were saying is that, you had people that were skillful here, and then you also had others came. They didn't just bring anybody that didn't know anything. They brought mariners, and like I said, when you look at one of the books that we see, ships, about 300 or 400 mariners came because they coveted. Most of us are shipbuilders. And we're shipbuilders because that's our heritage.
Right.
So if, say for instance, just like this house, if you look at this house is built with the architecture and naval architecture of a ship because they coveted them. People like William Byrd, when they came, he wasn't a farmer, he was a gentleman navigator. And so when they came here, they designed these houses because I would want a mariner to build my house because I know it could withstand a hurricane just like a ship can.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So they needed your skill. They needed all of our skill. Right. And they taught, we talk about something that a lot of us don't eat right now, or those that do, when you talk about pork. It was the American Indian that taught E. Mallory Todd how to cure ham, not Joe Luder, who took the name and tried to act like he owned Smithfield.
There's a difference between Luder and the Gwaltney story.
And the Gwaltney story.
The Gwaltneys is the one that actually owns the patent to the meat thing. Before we get out of this space, Lisa, the last time you visited, we had the honor and pleasure to meet an elder that's not here with us now. And she gave so much of her time. Her name was Carol Ann Sievers, and she's DNA. And so when she met Chief Lisa, she was blown because she was a child during the bombing of the Birmingham, Alabama story. She shared her time. She got on the phone with Chief Lisa and talked to somebody in Alabama, gave us some insight. So I'm gonna be quiet. And Lisa, from just the conversation that you and Miss Carol Sievers and her, she is DNA. So that's another story. Lisa was able to give her what was that, copper?
Give her a copper
and she wore that bracelet to the end. And all she did was like waited because Lisa was gonna ACAC her house out. And how was your visit? And what have the brother in Alabama that we should see soon? What's the next step with that as it relates to her telling us to make sure we look out for those Indians down there in College? Help me out.
Oh yeah. So in College Park. Okay. So so basically in meeting Miss Carol Sievers, you find out that a lot of our history is connected, and when you start piecing together the puzzle, you're gonna find out that a lot of the people that you may not even think of are your kinfolk. Okay. We all are connected. Miss Carol Sievers, I connected her with a Chief Carrie Davis, who has a book out called African Americans Ain't African, because it's not a new information. People have been studying the fact that who we are is in truth for quite some time, and it's been kept quite secret. That's undercover. They don't want really for us to be aware of this, because there are repercussions that are going to change our life for the better, and that's not what they want.
In closing, before we do, time is working against us. In closing, what is it that you want people to know most of all about our heritage, and why is it so important that we learn who we are?
Because like my sister said, and like everybody's kind of reverberated here, you need to know your own history. You might not be indigenous here. You might be European. You might be a mixture of that. You might be European and indigenous. You might have an African, but the odds of you being African is very minute, because that actual story is mostly fictitious. Alex Haley's roots was fictitious. He was sued for $800,000 for that fraudulent book that he wrote. So that's not his true family story. And it's not his true family story about that out of Africa, Kunta Kinte, and it's not ours. Wow. So the real thing that we need to do is find out what our real stories are. And what you're going to find out is going to be amazing. Because a lot of us come from people that did major things. They were moguls back in the 1700s, 1600s, going back and forth, selling things all across Europe and back and forth. We had people doing. Do you understand that we had major agricultural festivals here in Newport News and in East on the Eastern Shore? We had major fairs. We were international traders in the early 1900s, before the 1900s. In the 1800s, we were trading internationally. We were trading to Cuba. We were trading to Canada. This is all recorded. There was jealousy that was fueled intentionally by the government. The Birth of a Nation was played in the White House. Wow. They created racism. They created the tension and the hatred. And today the news and the media creates what we think today. We are suffering from menticide, from MK Ultra, the fact that your mind is being controlled intentionally. You're being taught what you should think, who you should be. But it's time for us to find out the truth for ourselves. That's the most important thing. And then once you do, you have to be like, you have to love each other. We got to love each other. We're here together because, do we always get along? No. Do we agree on everything down there? No. But we get along on what's important, and we know we're kinfolk, and we're going to stand together no matter what, because that's what they do against us. They're going to stand together no matter what.
Right.
When it comes down, they may hate each other.
Right.
So we need to stand together no matter what. Right. That's it.
Guys, I would like to thank each and every last one of you for tuning in to the Road to Young Live show and meeting some of my very intelligent Indian family. It was my pleasure being here with them today. Some of the words I got to get, you're going to tell me full-time indenture. Indigenous, okay? Family, guys, the way I learn a lot is by sitting around like-minded people. Not only do I sit here, my mind is open like a sponge to absorb the information. It wants me to want to know more. I like to say who, what, when, where, and why. Now I'm really, really curious, and I'm hoping that you are curious too. Where did I really come from? Or was we originally here? They say the way to hide something from people of color is to put it in the book. Chief showed us in the book 1619 that there was no record of us being brought here. So where did we get brought from? Or was we already here? On Rodeo Live, guys, thank you for tuning in. But before we go, we're going to let you know that this is not the end of it. We have another event, and if you're interested in what's going on with the Indian group here out of Virginia, guys, they're going to be doing another event come this Monday. Tell us more about that, someone.
So Monday we will be at the Down and Growth Center on Wickham Avenue. And if anyone knows anything about the Down and Growth Center, they just had a big old celebration, and that building is really the Walter Reed building. So it has a welfare building history, it has the library history. It used to have a bank in there or a credit union. They don't know what happened to the money.
What you mean?
I just like to tell the truth. And Mr. Lockett told me the truth don't need no crutch, so keep telling the truth.
That's right.
I just went to see my teacher, Mr. Linwood the Brew. But shout out to him. I know what I know because of him. I wanted to make sure that I get permission from the elder to speak before I did. He gave it to me. He's very, very interested in knowing how and what he can do. Just because Linwood is not moving around don't mean that his mind is not right, because it is. So Monday we'll be at the Down and Growth Center. We will definitely be in the building. There will be a breakfast. So we'll be there from 10 to 12. Then Lisa, you tell us what we're doing. And then we'll be back at the Down and Growth. Lisa, tell us what time.
Well, we'll be taking it to the Eastern Shore and letting people kind of see, because it's very raw there. It's very, full of, very raw aquaculture. It's very much similar to your area, your territory. Not developed on purpose. Occupied by other people illegally on purpose. But the only difference is that our waterways are barred. We've been barred from our waterland. Our watermen have been destroyed intentionally, systematically, and designed by the government.
Yeah.
We've been pushed out of being watermen, and our people don't have the skills that they once had. And even to go to the beach, they privatize every area where you can't even get access to the water at all.
Wow.
And if you fish, you're made to feel like you're not even allowed to fish at the public pier.
How do they make a beach that belongs to the world private?
Exactly. How do they?
It's genocide. All this is paper genocide. You don't have to move. You don't have to do all they do is go to the court. They put their name on it, and they act like that you bought it. They act like they told, and it happens every time. But if we go down there and you go and you investigate, I even came on the Eastern Shore. I rode around her land to see what she's talking about and see how they enjoy it. But they do. This do paper genocide. And like I said, and then sometimes our families have trust, and those individuals that are managing those trusts pass away, and we never know that there are trusts on our land, and they take it.
Chief, this event on Monday in the breakfast, is it free and open to the public?
Yes. It is actually sponsored by the Angela Harris Historical Toxic Tour. So if you have never ever did a toxic tour or a tour, a historical tour of this territory of Hampton, even of the Norfolk side, which Norfolk is Upper Norfolk and Lower Norfolk, you can reach me and call me, just like we do. And anything that Angela can do, I don't know everything, but I know my part. And my part is those records. I'm the one that you call. I go in, show you how to read the deed books. I learned that stuff from Joe Frank. So I think I'm the Jew. I know I'm an Indian. I'm black, Negro, colored, and African American, or Creole when I go deeper down south. But when we add them all together,
Don't forget your Irish.
you talking about my light skinned cousin, my freckles. I claim them too.
I got one with you.
I claim them too, and I told them I used to be real hot with my red hair. But I'm more thinking about, right, that $2 bill that on the front of it talks about the Declaration of Independence. On the that's the back. On the front of it is Thomas Jefferson, the Jefferson Lab that's been doing experiments on us. They need to stop. I'm more interested in making sure that I complete the work of Dr. Mary T. Christian, telling the truth. I'm more interested in making sure they put them signs back down that tells our waterman story.
Angie, if they want to follow you and some of the stories that you do and some of the events that you have and some of the projects that you make sure don't get stepped on and walked over, how would they follow your platform?
Well, right now I have two, right? So
Okay.
I am actively, and you can see, openly engaged in whatever my sister Lisa needs us to do to connect these things together. But
Your social media platforms.
Nook Harris, Facebook, I am the chair of the Southeast Care Coalition. You can follow us up there. And just now we created, like I say, the Angela Harris Historical Tour, because some kind of way people forgot the difference between Angela Harris, that's 51, and our organization.
Are you nonprofit?
Yes and no.
If they want to make donations into your program and your foundation, how would they go about doing that?
I have a physical sponsor that works with me and that takes care of the nonprofit component of it. And then,
But if the people want to sow into you,
right, they communicate with my
You got Cash App?
What's your email or your phone number, whatever you
but we just do
Right.
put the
But
what you call
Nuck Harris,
Yeah.
N-U-C-K,
Yeah.
Harris.
what's your platform?
so into Harris.
I'm Chief Rosa Holmes Turner, and I'm the chief of the sister tribes, which are the Wawaskayak and the Keokahonic tribe, Isle White County and Surrey County. And so my organization is Rushmere Community Development Corps.
What is your Facebook and platform that they can follow you on?
I'm Liren Cypress on Facebook, Liren. And also we have an ACAMAC public page that they can reach on Facebook and get information and updates from there. Also, we have a website called acamac.org. On that website, they can contact me by hitting the contact button on this website. Also, we have videos, cartoons for not just for children, because it has a very detailed history of our history here in Virginia. On acamac.org, that's ACCAWMACKE, acamac.org.
Thank you. Angie, I caught you off guard. One more time, what is your Facebook social media platform?
The reason that I flick that question, because I want everyone that under the sound of my voice to donate to the ACAC Nation. Angela is making sure and ensure that we support each other.
Right.
So
I just
donate to the cause.
Do you have a donation button on your website? All right. So once they go to our website, they will see it as well. So if anybody want to make any donations to anybody up here, you can go ahead and go to their website. Anybody else want to mention their website, their Facebook page?
Well, I just want to make sure, most of the time you can catch me on Facebook at Rosa Holmes Turner, and all of my others are connected to that. But that's the one I use every day.
All right.
Okay.
And your normal Facebook, one more time, Angel. Still trying to get it. Angel, you can take me left, right, run the corner back. I'm going to be right back, right here.
Right, so I am Nook Harris on Facebook. We have a Southeast Care Coalition.org. We have a web page. But right now in this space, with all due respect, all I want right now is donations to go to the ACAMAC, to our elders that need their help over there. I don't need anything right now. I'm not selfish.
No, but it's just that if anybody wanted to make a, it's just,
Yeah, but they may want to reach out to you.
It's just that if anybody wanted to, if anybody wanted to make a donation to anything, all these platforms are non-profit, and all of them can use your support because together they are a great team. Also, guys, please like and follow and subscribe to all of their platforms so we can stay abreast of what's really going on in our community. We'll never know what information we're going to need on what day.
That's right.
So prepare yourself for war now.
If you're from here, you could be an ACAC Indian. You need
Right.
to do your research and find out who you are. You need to find out your history, because you need to link up with your people. You need to be with your kinfolk.
Yeah.
And you also need to have your rights. You need to be an Indian, not taxed. You need to be of the right status. We should not be
I want to
paying
ask you that about the Indians has certain rights.
Right. So this is the thing. As an Indian, as a real Indian status, not a Native American, not within the BIA, we have our sovereign rights, or our original rights, right? Our first contact rights. Should you be paying taxes? No, you should not be paying taxes. If you're an Indian, not taxed, if that is your status, if that's who you are, and that is your identity, okay? The other thing that you should also have the right to be self-protected, or to be protected as your nation. We've had people within our nation that have legal problems, right? The law, whatever, you know what I'm saying? You get caught up in the law, there's a protection of your nation. Your nation has a right to stand up with you, for you, and to help you.
If I want to claim Indian, how would I go about that? If I find out that I am an Indian, how do I go?
I think you're ACAC.
If I find out I'm an ACAC Indian, how do I go back?
If you find out you're an ACAC Indian, you find out you went back and you find your surname. Then you know outside on the thing, I have a name of some of a map, a tree of some of the surnames, just a few of the surnames that are ACAC Indian. Now, if let's say you went back to, oh, that's my great-grandma's name. Well, okay, yeah, you already did the first step. You already identified that in your family you got the same surnames that are part of our nation, okay? So that's the first part, just knowing who your people are, getting those surnames, and then finding out which tribe is in that, which area and which nation is connected with that. Then if you find out you're an ACAC, see, then you reach out to us. You can hit my contact button on the website. You can go to the Facebook page that's public on Facebook, the ACAC page, and then you would do an enrollment form, which tells you, who your grandparents, who your parents, who your sister, brother, whatever, that kind of information. We know who you are and how you fit in with us. Wow. And then once we do that, then we'll say, look, okay, well, you need to change your identity. Right? Oh. So you really have to go through the steps of claiming who you are. So we have a affidavit that we have you fill out. You fill that affidavit out and you say, look, I've been misclassified by the government. You lied to me about this. This is this law. This is this historical fact. All these different things of why you did not know who you were, and you now know. And you have a right to claim who you are. You also have a right in the affidavit. It states to be an Indian, not taxed. You also are no longer a subject of the United States, although you still claim all of your benefits as a U.S. citizen, right? You claim all your rights and benefits as a U.S. citizen, because you ain't giving up nothing that you fought for and our people fought and bled and died for every day. We getting everything that's owed to us. But in addition to that, you are free. You are not under their jurisdiction. The other thing is, you're going to take this document and you're going to give it to all the different areas and make sure that it's highly reported and they know who you are, right? They know you're ACAC Indian. We also have ID cards that we give to the people who are not members, the people who are our family who are actually enrolled. Enrolled people have their card. That is their ID card. It's not a membership because it's not a club. It is your identity. It is your enrollment ID. Okay, you have that. It looks just like a driver's license. I use it at the airport. I use it at the hotels. I use that if I get stopped with the police. I use it for whatever, all the time. And then the other thing is, you shouldn't even have to pay. My sister, she doesn't pay taxes when she goes to a restaurant or whatever. See, you have to recreate your rights and privileges. When someone,
do you got to pay car taxes?
You should not have to. We're still working with Virginia against that to stop that, and I have new information about how to make sure that that is done. But see, when you are repatriating, what we're doing is we're repatriating our people. We're being the people, the original people that we are, and by doing that, you have to actually fight for the rights that you know are yours, like one by one by one. So when someone gets in trouble with the law and we say, look, we're going to represent them as ACAC Indians. We go to court with them, and so they also understand they're not under our jurisdiction. We have a right to defend ourselves. We have a right, and in every county, we've had 2 encounters where we had to do that. And in both cases, we won. The person was going to have to be a felon. The person was going to have to pay restitution, but that did not happen.
Let me ask you this one question to go right on to Angie. If I be found out I am an ACAC Indian, do my kids automatically become one?
Your kids are enrolled with you. You need to list them in your enrollment.
Even if they grown?
Yeah, of course. And you list them in their enrollment, and that is a protection because really, essentially, we're going to have our own plates. So when the police see, and we already have a mock-up of our own plates, my sister's driving around with out there. But so if you go out there, and your kids are driving in plates, and they're like, they already know what's the point in stopping them? They're not in our. It's just going to be a around the circle thing. So that'll give your sons and daughters a different type of freedom.
Wow.
So,
Angie.
Sister Lisa, as I said, I went to see Linwood DeBrew, and he said that he was watching the news, and his question to you, because he's watching live, because I made sure he would, but Chief, his question to you, because we know about the Chickahominy Indians in Charles City because of Mama Anita in here, right? So he said on the news today, he want to know who is them Nesman Indian people and who is them Indians from West Virginia. That's his question to you. What is the Nesman piece, Lisa?
And we're going to close it out
Right.
after this.
What is the Nesman piece, right? Because I don't know.
What is he asking about? Why is it
the Nesman, okay, so say for instance, you over here in Eastern Shore, then we got a Maharian Indian people.
Oh, you're
then
talking
we
about
have
the different tribes.
That's what he asked. Wait a minute. He's asking, what's the difference between the ACAC, because he's learning with me, and the Nesman, the Indian man that's dark skinned in West Virginia, and the light skinned Chickahominy cousins in Charles City? That was his question to you. How does these things come back to?
Because all these people are of the same territory. They're all of the same region. We all are the same kinfolk. Yes, we're all Powhatan chiefdom because we have a chiefdom. We have also, if you want to even get bigger as far as a bigger part of the country, the Tuscarora, that area is extends all the way up to Pennsylvania down to South Carolina. So if you really want to talk about it, depending on the time that we're in, we're of the same territory, the same region, the same people. That's what it is.
And I will add to it, the Nesman are sisters to the one was they're all Powhatan. They're all Algonquin speaking.
Right.
And so the Nesmans are located in Suffolk and Choctaw. That's where their reservation is. And their reservation is there. And so with that, Edith Turner, who is my ex-husband's ancestors, signed the treaty for the Nesman during the time of the 1690 Act of Cohabitation. So that's when the Nesmans are there. So their part. My ancestor Thomas Hughes used to be the minister for the Nesman tribe as well. So
Guys,
they're all out of the 30 tribes, out of the 30.
Guys, if y'all would like to know more information, you got to tune back in with us Monday. The building's about to close. Angie, before we go, you want to say something?
Well, this exhibit be up, Lisa. We have the Down the Gross building from 10 to 8. So Lisa, will the exhibit be up?
Yeah, I will be bringing the exhibit again.
Okay.
And put it up in the Down and Gross so people can see, because I do, like the books that I have blow-ups of these books. So you can actually see it up close and personal. The one that's hanging back there, you can see these books blown up so you can see the letters, the words, the information, and, kind of get an understanding of our real history. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you as well. Thank you all for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on Monday. See you, Council.